Well, tens of thousands of Colombians are enraged at their government's proposed tax reforms. They turned out in droves in the capital, Bogota, to protect against the changes, which they say will increase burdens at a time when making ends meet is already difficult. The government needs to raise its revenues to pay off debt and increase social spending. But as Mobin Nasir reports, it's facing rising pressure from labour unions and lawmakers.
Undeterred by police batons, tear gas and water cannons, tens of thousands of Colombians took to the streets of Bogota protesting against proposed new taxes. They say living conditions are already deplorable and they cannot afford to pay more.
We have had 27 years of terminal poverty, and we call on the Colombian state to consider the conditions of health workers. We deserve a better life.
Frustration has been mounting for months as the coronavirus pandemic devastates the already teetering economy. GDP shrank by almost 7% last year as businesses endured months of lockdown. The ensuing layoffs have driven up joblessness, and more than 27% of the population is now living below the poverty line. The government says it needs to raise taxes so it can increase social spending and help those most in need. The proposed changes include a hike in income tax for high earners from 39% to 41%. A one-time levy would also be deducted from their salaries. The wealth tax would be doubled, while earnings from dividends would be taxed at 15% instead of 10%. Officials hope these measures will raise government revenues from 19.7% of GDP to 21.9% by 2031. But it's facing staunch opposition from other political parties and from the country's biggest labor unions.
This march is the biggest display of outrage against this government, against the tax reform, and against the labor and pension reforms.
While most demonstrations have been peaceful, arson attacks and vandalism are causing damage to public property, and the large congregations are also raising the risk of worsening the coronavirus outbreak. Hoping to disperse the crowds, the government says it's willing to negotiate.
Violence doesn't resolve any of the challenges that we have to face as a country. There are no stubborn positions here. Violence cannot be a mechanism of expression. During the fear of the third wave of the pandemic, violence can further exacerbate the situation with already high occupancy rates in ICUs.
But the country's largest unions have already called for more strikes in coming days. And unless their demands are met, protesters and police may soon be clashing in the streets again. Mobin Nasir, TRT World.